What is up, my friends, and how's it going? And welcome back to the 23rd episode of our Let's Play series as Roma with your fellow comrade Summary. In the previous episode, we managed to conquer the entirety of Britannia with our Imperator Augustus alongside his most trusted lieutenant, Marcus Agrippa. Historically, the Romans only conquered up to Hadrian's Wall, which is somewhere along the border of modern-day Scotland and England. However, for the purpose of this Let's Play series, we are role-playing an alternative Roman history in which they managed to establish more secure borders and thereby ensuring the everlasting legacy of Rome. And that being said and done, we managed to even conquer the entirety of Hibernia and Caledonia, thereby forever eliminating the threats that the Picts posed to the Romans in real life. Apart from that, we also managed to conquer Raetia et Noricum in its completion, and that includes several regions such as Curia, Augusta, Vindelicum, as well as Virunum. All of these regions have been renamed, as you can see. Even in the British Isles, we have gone ahead and founded the city of Londinium, Ratiae Corioltavorum, as well as Isca Dumnoniorum. In the north, we have Ibericum, Tremontium, and Tara. Meanwhile, Moridunum stays Moridunum, as that is the Roman name already. However, the main focus for this episode would be to conquer the next historical provinces that were taken over by Augustus himself during the Principate era, which is basically Pannonia as well as Thracia and Moesia. However, we will not be fighting any of the Pannonian Celtic tribes, as they have been completely wiped out by the Suebos, which are a Germanic tribe in the northern extremities of Germania. However, as far as this Let's Play series is concerned, they have managed to expand into Pannonia and even own parts of Dacia as well as Thracia and Moesia. So we pretty much have to fight mostly against the Germanic factions such as the Suebii as well as the Arii. And of course, we have to also take on the Odrysian kingdom in order to control the entirety of Thracia and Moesia. However, without any further ado, let us begin by having a look at all of our characters and going ahead and seeing how we can level them up. As of now, most of you will know that I have most of my spies set in the region of Parthia, as I do want to keep an eye out for, any possible Parthian attacks. I want to make sure. And I knew something was wrong with my reshade, so let's go ahead and correct that. And basically, we were speaking about Parthia, and I want to make sure that I am not taken by surprise as far as it comes to the Parthians declaring war on me, and that I am fully prepared to counter their aggression. While the Parthians are fairly loyal with us, I have gone ahead and taken some steps and some measures to kind of secure my position, and I will get to that shortly. Basically, what I have done is that I've managed to secure military alliances that surround Parthia. As you can see, I have a military alliance with the Mauryan Empire, as well as I have managed to upgrade my defensive alliance with Muscat into a military alliance. Meanwhile, Tiedemensi, as well as the Kushites, who I have released from the Ptolemid faction, are already military allies. So we have about 4 military allies. Meanwhile, the rest of the world have a no-rail military, defensive, or even non-aggression agreements with us. With the exception of Parthia, they do have a non-aggression as well as a trade agreement. Now, it was really difficult to establish a military alliance with Muscat as well as Maurya Samraja, so one of the tricks you can use in order to do this, in case you are struggling in establishing a military alliance, is to cancel your trade agreement and then re-offer the trade agreement. And and by doing so, you basically make them highly likely to accept any other complementary agreements. So I was able to cancel the trade agreement with Muscat and then reoffer it with the precondition of a military alliance, and they accepted. However, in the case of the Mauryans, it took a little bit of extra steps, because as Roma, you can't really trade with the Mauryans, even though we have port settlements that connects to ports to the Mauryan capital. The way the game works is that you need a direct land bridge between your capitals, so either Roma and Pura, which is the capital of the Mauryan Empire, has to be connected via land, and as you can see, that's not the case. We don't have any land bridge to the Mauryans whatsoever. They're completely cut off from us. They're not our neighbors. So pretty much the game jumps into the second possibility, which is basically you need to have a port that connects to your capital. So for example, in the case of Moria, they do have the port of Orea, which connects to the capital of Pura. However, our port, which is in the Oceanus Indicus, basically Berenice as well as Myos Hormuz, do not actually connect to our capital. We even have a third port, which is Charmutas. None of these connect to our capital. So if we take Charmutas, for example, we have a disconnect over here, we have a disconnect over here, and even if you consider the other ports, it's pretty much the same scenario. However, you might be wondering, well, what about all the way through Africa and towards Rome? That seems to be a land connection. However, it isn't, because while on the campaign map itself you can actually cross from Tingis over to Gades without the need of actually getting into a fleet, this is still considered a body of water that separates your two lands. So pretty much it's not a land connection, it's still disjointed. So the only way to offer a trade agreement with Moria was to actually shift my capital to Alexandria. That way the ports of Myos Hormuz, Berenice and even Charmutas are connected to my capital. And after I did that, I was able to manage a military alliance trade agreement with the Mauryans as well as military access, and then in the subsequent turn I managed to relocate my capital back to Roma. So that's just a little nifty trick for you guys to know how we go about establishing alliances. However, that being said and done, quick look at our politics. As you can see, we are going to hide the deceased. As you can see, most of our political parties are fairly loyal towards us. We even managed to get our influence back down to respected in the Senate, which is the ideal influence balance you want as the Roman faction, as you get a lot of benefits but no debuffs. However, overly influential is not too bad. As I have stated before, it only gives +5 to political incident occurrence. However, the ideal still remains the respected in the Senate, because it gives several other benefits that are not available when you are overly influential in the Senate. However, that being said and done, we don't really need to focus as much on politics anymore, because we can easily manage to maintain this level of influence no matter how many characters come of age, no matter how we do it over here. But the most important thing is to keep ensuring that we offer promotions to our rival political party members, and that is for two reasons. One is for the loyalty, and two is that each subsequent political rank actually gives benefits to their taxation capabilities as well as their economic abilities as well as their military abilities. So you really need to kind of focus on offering higher political offices to your political rivals, as it is always a very good strategy to keep them loyal as well as to keep their influence in a good reasonable balance, as well as improve your economy significantly. However, speaking of economy, as you can see, we started out at 5.3 million in the previous episode and we are now 8 million. So we managed to make about 3 million in just a single episode, and that is because we are making 323,000 denarii per turn, which is absolutely insane. If you actually go ahead and take a look at the provinces, you can see that Asia Minor has finally breached the 200,000 mark. Egyptus, meanwhile, has even overtaken Roma or Latium, and they are now at 186. Meanwhile, Latium is just a sliver behind Egyptus and is making about the same, but just about 200 denarii less. Africa per consularis will be pretty much stable throughout the entire campaign. For now, it'll be stuck at around 160-170,000, depending, of course. The only difference that can be achieved is upgrading the political ranks of the Governor General. So as you can see, Edilis provides +6 tax in the local province. If we are able to promote them all the way up to consul, we pretty much get double that. So your taxation rate can pretty much double over here. Meanwhile, the final economic province we have is Achaia. Achaia is pulling a very respectable 139, considering it only has 3 regions of Athene, Sparta, as well as Gortynia. So that is really, really good for Achaia. Meanwhile, political or public stability, public order stability is looking really good. We have zero chances of rebellion. Food is looking amazing. We're making 119 per turn. And we have three main food provinces. But keep in mind that Africa is also producing food, since their major source of economic income is actually agricultural income. However, in the previous episode, as you might recollect, we spec'd out Britannia to be a food province because I realized that in the case of banditry, we could drop to dangerously low levels, and now Britannia has actually surpassed my expectations as far as food production is concerned. As you can see over here, if we send an emissary, we can get an idea of how much food each province is creating, and you need to arrange it. And as you can see, Britannia is closed behind Sicilia. While Sicilia is only 3 regions, it's pretty good as a food province. It's one of the best food provinces due to the fact that it has fish resource as well as the grain resource. So it is actually a very good settlement or a province for generating food. However, Britannia is not too bad itself. It has 3 ports. It does have that fish resource, which means it can produce a lot of food. And once again, if we compare the amount of food Britannia is producing in comparison to Sicilia, you will see that it is 56 as opposed to 68. However, we haven't yet completely upgraded these buildings. The latifundium itself, each upgrade of the latifundium will offer 8 additional food, so that's 16, plus of course the cattle ranch will offer an additional 5. The final level of fishing port will offer another 5, and of course the final level of the Forum Copidennis will provide another 6, and we also have the enclosed fishery. So pretty much Britannia, by my estimate, will be between 80 to 90 food all on its own, which means it will be equivalent to all of the other food provinces combined within our empire. So that's a very good fail-safe to have in case of banditry. You are not really caught out. Now, as far as the military is concerned, we have a lot of legions that are available to us to begin this invasion into, the Suevos and take over Pannonia, Thracia, and Moesia. However, there have been a few changes, and in particular, our Imperator Augustus is now in charge of Legio 30 Ulpia Victris, and these guys are absolutely badass. I mean, they have 60 armor with the level 3 armor upgrade, which is absolutely insane, and 60 armor is actually equivalent to many cataphract horse units, so it's absolutely insane. And of course, if we even go into defensive formation, these guys will total or peak 70 armor. That is absolutely insane. These guys are not going to be taking any casualties. However, that being said and done, let us hop right into the campaign and begin our invasion of Thracia and Moesia as well as Pannonia. So let's go ahead, declare war against the Arii. They are going to be allied with the Suevos, which means we will take a diplomatic hit since we recently cancelled diplomatic ties with the Suevos. However, we are going to call in all our allies to join this war so that their opinion of us improves. And as you can see, we took a slight diplomatic hit. Trustworthy is a decent and acceptable diplomatic hit. Anything lower than that, especially when your Imperium is really high, is really, really painful. However, that being said and done, let's go ahead, and I'm actually going to send Legio 5 Alade to take over Singidun. Excellent, keep pushing forward. Go ahead, attack Singidun, and Singidun actually has a garrison, which means I will need to send Legio 1 Adriatrix as well in order to combat them. And we are going to send Legio 4 Flavia Felix to take over Aink. There are a couple of armies over there, so we could have an interesting fight going on over there. Meanwhile, down south over here in Thracia, we are going to push into Pulpodeva with Legio 1 Italica, which is now under the command of Marcus Agrippa. Meanwhile, we can technically push with Imperator Augustus into Nasos itself. And yes, pretty much we're going to auto-resolve the battles. Since these are going to be very easy battles, I don't really want to showcase them. We're going to peacefully occupy these settlements because we want to maintain that Peregrini class population. Even though that they are not Latin culture, we want to maintain the Peregrini population class because these provinces actually have really good auxiliary troops. So let's go ahead and do that over there. We're going to peacefully occupy the settlement. And then we are going to withdraw Legio 1 Aeduitrix into Delaminum so he can replenish. Meanwhile, Legio 1 Minerva can go ahead and attack Segestica and once again peacefully occupy the settlement. Now that we have done that, let's have a quick look at this province. We want to turn off the taxation straight off the bat. So let's go ahead and do that. And of course, we want to turn off the taxation in Thracia as well. We're going to go ahead, dismantle the buildings we don't need and convert the buildings we can retain, as well as dismantle any of the other buildings we don't need. We don't really need to culturally convert this province. We want to maintain that foreign population class, so we're not going to be building any temples in the region. So let's go ahead, upgrade all of the buildings we can while we are at it. Fantastic, dismantle every other building. And just a quick look at some of the units that are available in Pannonia as well as Thracia and Moesia. So beginning with Pannonia, we have some pretty standard Pannonian spear cohorts as well as some pretty standard Pannonian auxiliary cavalry. However, in the 4th level of auxiliary barracks, we have 3 very good cataphract options. You have, of course, the Ala Contariorum Sarmatian, basically, and then we have the Ulpia Contariorum, okay, and finally we have the Ala 1 Gallorum et Pannoniorum Cataphracta. Now these guys are the absolute best, and that's why I didn't butcher their pronunciation, because I am well aware of this unit and I have pretty much always played around with this unit. However, while we can spam as many of this unit as we like, because we have no limit on our Auxilia, we are going to limit this to 1 army, otherwise it would just be too overpowered. And besides, we are already too overpowered as it is. Meanwhile, moving into Thracia, as you can see, we have some pretty standard Thracian spear auxiliary cohorts, as well as we have some Thracian archers, and these guys are pretty good. 35 armor is absolutely insane, but they don't have a lot of melee ability, so they're not going to be very useful in a melee. Meanwhile, we have several cavalry options, including a horse archer cavalry option. So that is definitely nice. However, that being said and done, let's have a quick look at our provinces, as we did forget to manage our provinces. So we're going to move around our provinces and have a quick look and see if we can upgrade any of the buildings in our provinces. And speaking of upgrade, I just remembered we have managed to get that level 4 stables in Palmyra. So we're going to go ahead and send all of the units in order to get that level 3 horse speed. So we have 3 legions in the region, and we even have several more legions down south in Egyptus that we are going to send in order to increase our horse ability, or basically the speed of our cavalry. So we have Legio 5 Macedonica. We are also going to send him all the way up here. And now we are going to select that for the horse speed. Basically, go ahead, deploy them back into the ports. And these legions over here are pretty much a standby. In the case of any Parthian hostilities, they will be able to respond very quickly. And definitely want to move this all the way back up to Tarsus. Meanwhile, this guy, I need to move him a little bit closer. And I have gone ahead, and as far as Legio 3 Kyrenike is concerned, I've gone ahead and given them some Numidian cavalry, and now Numidian cavalries are really good against horse archer units. This is my prediction, basically. I haven't really tested it out, but I predict this because they have 9 speed, and when I upgrade them, you will see that they actually have 11 speed, which means they will be incredibly fast on the battlefield. Most cavalry have 8 to 9 speed, and these are the fastest types of cavalry for the most part, as far as I can recollect. most of the Parthian, even the lightest versions of the Parthian horse archers only have a speed of 8, which means we will at least be 3 speed faster than the Parthian lightest and nimblest of cavalry. And to put that into perspective, it's basically comparing the speed difference between a speed 4 slinger unit versus a speed 7 companion cavalry unit. And as most of you know, that slinger unit is not going to outrun that unit of companion cavalry. So having speed 11 Numidian cavalry is going to be very crucial, because we will be able to catch up to the lighter variants of the Parthian horse archers. And for that very same reason, I have gone ahead and given Legio II Parthica those Numidian veteran cavalrymen, as well as I have given them that standard 8 Balearic slinger build, so that they can effectively counter horse archer cavalry. However, that being said and done, I think I am done with this turn, so I'm going to go ahead, end the turn, and I will see you all in the next turn. Alright, welcome to the next turn. We have lost a general of Legio 13 Gemina, and we can go ahead and just simply hire one of our own characters. We don't need to hire any more political rivals. And we have even lost a governor, so that is not good. Depends on which governor we have lost, and as you can see, our economy has taken a pretty massive hit. We have lost about 50,000 denarii per turn just by the loss of a single governor. So that's just how important, having dignitaries in your economic province can be. And I believe it's the governor in Africa. So let's see if we have really good governor. And we don't really have a good governor, so what I'm going to do is basically select all the governors, disband them, and then hope for a better roll in the next turn. So let's go ahead and do that. Meanwhile, alright, we are full on those regards, and we're full everywhere else. Alright, perfect. We have some characters that are leveled up, so let's just quickly level them up. And I don't think we have, so that was a bit of a... Alright, so let's actually focus on our provinces. And there we go. And over here we want to build up for that foreign population class. Meanwhile, we can upgrade the amphora in Asia, and that's going to take Asia's economy to even greater heights. And I estimate by the end of this series, they will pretty much be making 250,000 denarii per turn, which is absolutely insane. However, speaking of provinces, we have Britannia, and it has finally converted into Latin culture. We have a Peregrini that is slowly converting into Latin culture. I mean, we have a 42% Latin culture versus 57% Britannic culture, so we are going to send up this dignitary to help with the cultural conversion of Caledonia et Hibernia. However, that being said and done, let us focus back to the east in the Balkans. We have pretty much replenished over here. Almost, not entirely. So I am going to withdraw a bit with this legion over here so that he can replenish. Meanwhile, I am also going to withdraw over here, so with this legion, so he can replenish. It kind of leaves Singidun as well as Segestica a little bit exposed. However, I don't really mind that. Meanwhile, we are going to move Legio II Italica towards Thessalonica, as eventually the goal will be to also declare war against the Odrysian kingdom. Meanwhile, we have 2 legions over here, Legio 15 Apollinaris and Legio 4 Scythica, and they will begin the conquest of the eastern portions of the Odrysian kingdoms that have managed to expand all the way into Sarmatia and wipe out these steppe factions. However, we are not interested in directly controlling these provinces, so we will pretty much be just releasing the factions that are, basically the factions within these regions. So pretty much that's going to happen. And as far as this turn is concerned, nothing much else to do. We really want to keep replenishing the army of Octavian himself, Augustus himself. However, we don't have Proletarii, and that is the main problem. So we kind of again need to slightly retreat. I might actually kind of pay over here for retreating, and I'm going to be a little bit conservative with Pulpadeva because I actually have absolutely no line of sight of what is going on over here. Meanwhile, over here in the north, near Aink, we have the opportunity for a pretty interesting battle with Legio IV Flavia Felix. We have a bunch of armies over here, 20 stack and a 4 stack, and of course the garrison itself, which is a 22 stack, so it's pretty even in terms of numbers. However, you know, the Germans are nothing to scoff at. They have some pretty good troops, so let's just go ahead, quick save over here. And we're going to attack the army that's outside the settlement. And quick save over here, and then I will see you all in the battle. Alright my friends, welcome to the battle. We have gone ahead and arrayed Legio IV Flavia Felix into our typical legionary formation. We have our Aquitanian swordsmen, auxiliary cohorts in the center. Meanwhile, they are flanked by our Gallic spearmen. We have our Gallic skirmishers on the flanks behind our Gallic spearmen, and we have a bunch of Balearic slingers behind our main front lines. In the back we have our Balliste unit, and further behind them we have our cohorts of Legio IV Flavia Felix. They are an imperial cohorts, and as you can see, they kind of have the maybe we can go for a little bit of a lighter reshade. There we go, so that we can see it a bit more clearly. And as you can see, we have a bunch of cavalry on the left and right flank. However, straight off the bat, their cavalry decides to charge my spearmen because they were in motion. However, these Roman spearmen are extremely professional and will not take a lot of casualties. Instead, they will inflict a lot of casualties. Meanwhile, in the backs, my own Gallic skirmishers are pelting the enemy cavalry, so they will take quite a bit of casualties. They ended up taking casualties and in fact didn't inflict a single casualty. So that's just how powerful Roman auxiliars can be. Meanwhile, over here on the left flank, we are engaging the enemy cavalry over there. They are trying to kind of encircle or flank my spearmen. However, I ask my cavalry to respond to that situation by charging into them, and pretty much you know, we get a very good charge off against them. They manage to get a charge onto the sides of my units, and therefore they are able to inflict a slight amount of casualties. On the right flanks, I've managed to push up my auxiliary cavalry, and the idea is to basically try to encircle the enemy. And meanwhile, my ballistae are busy firing at this enemy concentration over here. On the left flank, as you can see, the enemy cavalry is in full retreat. We are going to charge in, and we're going to try our level best to completely rout them from the battlefield. And as you can see, they're taking a lot of casualties. They will not be able to you know, get back into this fight. We're going to keep pursuing them. They have literally nothing to do but to completely break. And I believe, as far as this battle is concerned, this is the only unit that kind of survives because I don't kill it entirely. We are going to throw a couple of javelins, and I guess this unit gets wiped out, but pretty much in this battle only one enemy unit survives. I apologize beforehand because after this battle I kind of you know, botch up my recording, and I was not able to showcase the actual conquest of Aink. However, as you can tell, after winning this battle, we obviously take over the settlement and we peacefully occupy it because even though it is a foreign culture, we are trying to spec Pannonia into an auxiliary recruitment region, which is why we will need a lot of that Peregrini population class, and so we decided to spare them and use them to bolster the ranks of our auxiliary troops. However, that being said and done, as you can see, the enemy is refusing to fight us. Instead, what the enemy AI has decided to kind of do is to move towards their reinforcements, which is coming somewhere from this direction. So pretty much that is what is going on for now. Meanwhile, on the left flank, we have completely surrounded their general unit and charged at him from all sides. And he has been overwhelmed, and we are basically just going to keep hunting him down and wiping him out, basically killing off any of the survivors of that unit. We're not going to let them get away, and pretty much he is going to die in that confrontation. Now, realizing that the enemy is kind of moving towards, their reinforcements, I realized that we can no longer stay in our original position, and we kind of have to move outwards to kind of meet them and create a new front line. So that is what I am trying to achieve over here. I'm trying to create a new triple S axis kind of a front line. Meanwhile, presenting a solid front line using my auxiliary troops. And basically what you're seeing over here is that I'm trying to mirror the enemy movements. And while they go ahead and do that, let us just quickly adjust this setting. I found out that the far plane, or the far, this is what I want to change, and I found out I like 2.4 instead. So let's go ahead and do that. Basically what that does is that it blurs out a few things in the distance, leaves for a very more cinematic kind of a look. And in the distance, in the far distance, you can see a couple of garrison units from the settlement of Aink trying to make their way onto the battlefield. They are moving very fast, so by the time they get to us, I reckon they should be tired. However, the enemy is still ignoring us and still trying to push in for their reinforcements. So we are slowly but surely trying to kind of mirror their formation, trying to get them to commit to the engagement. So I'm just gonna fast forward a little bit over here. Meanwhile, my slingers are targeting their phalanx type units. As you can see, these unit flags pretty much indicate to me which unit are phalanx type units. We have a missile unit that has kind of stayed behind, and we are slowly going to push in towards it. Meanwhile, our cavalry from the left flank have done their job, so they're coming back and they will pretty much try to charge against this unit of skirmishers. These guys, although they do have spears, if they get charged by 4 cavalry units, 4 heavy cavalry units with a couple of PLI units, and they are not braced for impact, they will take quite a considerable amount of damage, and as such they will begin to rout ASAP. So that is rather fantastic. And now you can see that the enemy formation is starting to take some kind of a semblance. They are able to link up, which is not ideal, but once again, this is a garrison unit, so it should be fairly easy for us to deal with them. What we are going to try to do is we're going to try to completely readjust our lines in order to face the enemy. And pretty much that's what's happening over here. So I'm just going to fast forward a little bit. Some of our slingers kind of overextend, and I'm trying to reorganize our lines, trying to reorganize our right flank of cavalry over there, as well as that's pretty much what's happening. We are also trying to move up our cohorts unit as a reserve, as usual, to the battle. And should we need them, we shall actually use them. Meanwhile, now that the enemy reinforcements are close in range, the enemy has turned around. We have a couple of phalanx type units. We have the shield wall type units over here. We have some short pike units over here, so these are quite dangerous. Meanwhile, we have another unit of short pike slowly marching its way up to our front line, so pretty much soon enough our front lines are going to engage. And at this point over here, we notice that some of the cavalry has gotten caught off, so we are going to try to support it with a flanking charge, and then we are trying to deal with this cavalry. We're throwing our javelins at that cavalry. We might end up getting some friendly fire. However, now we have issued the orders to charge against that cavalry, and with that we will decisively win that engagement. As you can see, you know, they are starting to take quite a lot of casualties. They are starting to lose decisively, and we are trying to wipe them out from the battlefield before they can get reinforced by their own spearmen, who decide not to get immediately into melee but rather to throw their precursor javelins. And honestly, if this was a human player, this is kind of like a mistake. Like, it is kind of nice if you can get your javelins thrown into enemy cavalry, but if you're a spear unit, try to, you know, pin them down as quickly as you can, because you are going to do a lot more damage with your spears rather than your javelins. Meanwhile, across the entire front, we have our auxiliary troops have engaged the Germanic sway bows. And of course, these pikemen are going to keep pushing our own men behind, and if we don't deal with them quickly, then we are going to be in a lot of trouble. However, noticing that we are being overwhelmed on the flanks, I've decided to pull up my reserve legionary cohorts, who decide to throw their pila into the flanks of enemy units, and very soon we should be able to counter encircle the enemy with our own cohorts. Meanwhile, I'm doing the same thing on the left flank with our cohorts. All that's remaining is a single cohort as well as the first cohort. Pretty much that being said and done, our cavalry has pulled behind, and now, as you can see, these spearmen have no chance of catching up with the cavalry, and they have kind of missed out on their opportunity. Even though they are light spearmen, they do have speed 4, so they are pretty quick. We have to be a little bit careful about that. And initially, seeing them charge towards my cavalry, I issued an order to attack that cavalry so that they move really quickly. They're not moving quickly enough, so I have engaged in that wedge formation so that they get a little bit of movement speed, and the idea is to, you know, wheel in and attack those missile units over there. Meanwhile, on the right flank, my cavalry is doing a good job taking out and wiping out the enemy units that are in full retreat. Our objective is to pretty much ensure that they don't return to the battlefield, because right now, you know, we are in a situation where we can pretty much, you know, wipe out the entire enemy army. So that is what we are trying to achieve over here. Meanwhile, our cavalry on the left flank have finally, you know, been ordered to charge into the missile units, and these are Germanic hunters, so they're not going to be good against cavalry whatsoever. We have another group of Germanic hunters, so pretty much nothing they can do over here. They are going to completely rout and break. Meanwhile, on that left flank, on that right flank, as you can see, my legionaries have managed to encircle the enemy left flank, and we are going to charge into that left flank. As you can see, we are totally overwhelmed over here. Meanwhile, let's have a quick look at the center. As you can see, these pikemen have managed to push deeper and deeper into our front lines, so we have ordered our units to kind of retreat and give some ground. Meanwhile, we have ordered our first cohort to kind of plug the gap, and what we are going to try to do is we are going to try to see if we have any missiles that we can offer and you know, fire against this unit, because while this unit is a short pike unit, it I mean, currently in this patch it has a shield, so it is pretty tanky, but in the 1.33 patch it no longer has a shield, so it should be very vulnerable to missile fire. That being said and done, not really microing well over here, and a little bit of a delayed response on that rear charge. However, we have performed it for now, and with that we should be able to, you know, rake in some kills, some serious kills, thereby, you know, forcing the enemy left flank to completely rout in a matter of time. We have managed to do the same on the left flank, and over here on the left flank we actually managed to do it a lot faster, and as such we are able to get a much more desirable result. That being said, the one unit of Aquitanian cohorts have started to waver, so I'm starting to pull them out because I don't want to lose them. I don't want to lose any units that I have to, you know, go all the way out to recruit. Meanwhile, over here, my cavalry have done dealing with all of the enemy stragglers. So what we are going to try to do is, we notice that there's not much of a frontage to charge. So we're just going to assign them to, wipe out any of these stragglers and completely eliminate them. Meanwhile, as you can see, their entire right flank is completely wavering, which means we will have all of these units on the right flank available to keep rolling down the enemy front line. Meanwhile, over here, we have taken care of the pike units, which is a good thing, and we are charging some other skirmisher units into the front line, which is not entirely necessary, but they are pretty good in melee, so I'm not too concerned. Our cavalry on the left flank is pretty much doing the exact same as on the right flank and focusing on chasing down stragglers, which is the main objective over here. Meanwhile, our other two cavalry tends to be a little bit passive, but I noticed that they can charge a couple more straggler units, so that is pretty much what I am ordering them to do. And as you can see, my right flank is sort of kind of clear, so we are going to begin to reposition our our right flank, and then charge into the backs of the enemy front lines. And in doing so, we will secure the victory in this battle. However, over here, this unit tends to be, or proves to be, quite resilient, although it is completely surrounded and in a defensive formation. For some reason, it does not have the formation breached status, and as such, it manages to stay in the fight a lot longer, although it is losing units at a quite decent rate. And as you can see, slowly their front lines is starting to crumble. Our cavalry is not really interested in performing cycle charges, as it is quite chaotic over here in the front lines. They will get entangled, so I've decided not to go ahead and charge with the cavalry. Instead, we have a lot of units that are retreating, so I am going to issue our cavalry orders to kind of wipe them out as best as we can. Meanwhile, our own infantry have begun encircling the enemy, so we really don't need those rear charges. What we are going to do instead is, perform, an encirclement with our own infantry. And for now, as you can see, a majority of the German front line has entirely collapsed. They just have a single unit of phalanx units, and they are not exactly faced towards us. They're kind of at a weird angle, facing off sideways. Meanwhile, we are hitting them on their shielded side, which will not inflict a lot of casualties towards them. However, I don't mind, because I'm not taking a lot of casualties either. Instead, what is ending up happening is that I'm routing the remainder of the army, and with that, as you can see, we have managed to secure the victory. I go ahead and I continue the battle, and I try my level best to wipe out as many of the enemy units as I possibly can. However, for now, we are pretty much going to go ahead and end the battle, and I will see you all in the campaign. Alright, welcome to the next turn. Some of our characters have increased in their level, so let's go ahead and upgrade them. We have some spies over here that can be leveled up. Meanwhile, classes 2 Italica Ferox. We can go ahead and give him some ramming capabilities, as well as some campaign range movement, as we need to deal with some pirates, Carthaginian pirates in the African Sea. However, we also have classes 1 Roma Victress, which is no longer required in Britannia, so we are going to move him all the way back down towards Syracuse. And after that, we are going to continue to level up our characters. We have the commander of Legio 1, Germanica, who has reached his maximum level, which means we can actually send the champion onto the next army. So let's send the champion across. And then after that, we even have the commander of Legio 8 Augusta, and let's go ahead and level him up as well and give him some abilities. Meanwhile, we have assigned our champion to move all the way down to Legio 2 Kyrenike. Down south over here, near to Palmyra, we can go ahead, move Legio 5 Macedonica, level him up as far as the horse speed bonus is concerned. And we're going to do the same for Legio 2 Partica. And I believe the upgrade is level 3 horses, so yeah. Alright, so let's move him into Thapsacus. And pretty much after that we can have a look at all of our provinces and how they are set up. We can upgrade several buildings. Excellent. And we have to keep in mind that we were sending that dignitary up towards Caledonia et Hibernia to kind of help with, you know, the cultural conversion of that province. So we kind of have to remember to continue that movement. However, that being said and done, we're done with all the provinces. Let's go up there to Caledonia et Hibernia, move this guy towards Iberocom, and go ahead and deploy him so that he can begin culturally converting as well. As you can see, we are getting a change of plus 2% per turn, which means in about 5 turns we should have a dominance of Latin culture over there in about maximum 5 turns. However, it could come sooner than that. Meanwhile, Legio 4 Flavia Felix hasn't really replenished over here, but I guess he should in the next couple of turns. But what we can do is we have a lot of legions over here in the vicinity that can move back into their settlements and try to kind of hold on to them. Meanwhile, we're going to move back here. We are at war with the Inguiones, I believe that's how we pronounce them. And we can move Legio 5 Alaude, which is an older Augustan style legionary, back into the port of Dyrrhachium, as we mainly want to focus on using Imperial type legionaries. Meanwhile, we can move Legio 2 Italica into Pulpodeva while withdrawing Legio 1 Italica in order to replenish in Thessalonica. And we're going to put him actually into the settlement so that he gets an extra replenishment rate. Meanwhile, Octavian should have also completely replenished, so we can move him slightly towards Anthea. Perfect. And in the next turn we should be able to take the fight to the Odrysian kingdom. However, we can begin to do so in this very turn in the eastern side of things near the Sarmatian border. So let's go ahead, declare this war against them. We will take a diplomatic hit. It should be dependable, which means we're doing pretty good for now. And of course, just a quick look at our alliances. All our allies have joined, which is a great thing. And we are going to go ahead, auto-resolve this one. And we are not interested in controlling the province directly, so we are going to simply liberate that faction. And after we liberate that faction, we want that faction, which will be our military ally, to be extra friendly with us. So we are going to ask him to join the war against the Odrysian kingdom. Excellent. After that, we have Legio 4 Scythica that can move all the way towards, I believe, Olbia. Can we move towards Olbia? I don't think we can, so we are going to move towards Geros maybe, or Dano-Opara. I'm more inclined towards Dano-Opara because we do have Legio 15 Apollinaris that can conquer Geros, and we can keep pushing you know, deeper into Odrysian kingdom territory. So let's go ahead and release the faction over there as well. And after we do that, we can actually move really close to the border to secure Olbia in the next turn. However, that being said and done, we want these guys to kind of join the war against the Odrysian kingdom. It's at pretty low. However, if I offer a lot, they still won't join, which is rather unfortunate. However, it is what it is, and we're gonna have to deal with that. However, that being said and done, let's have a quick look and see our buildings over here. Things seem to be going fine, and I'm pretty happy with the progress. So far we managed to conquer the entirety of Pannonia, so everything seems to be going just according to plan. And with that, I don't think there's much else to do in this turn. We can perhaps just jump into our politics real quick and go ahead and see if we can level any of our governor generals. We have one guy over here which we are going to level up, and we have maybe perhaps more of them that we can level up. So let's just quickly have a look at all of the characters. And yes, we have this guy over here who can be a praetor, and they're starting to rank up quite nicely, which means my economy will be will be more robust basically. So not that I really need economy right now. I am more or less playing with the economy turned off, as you can see. 8.4 million denarii in the bank. Meanwhile, we have we're making 280,000 denarii per turn, which reminds me we also need a diplomat over here, or a dignitary, to help with the economy in Africa Proconsularis. That was making about 20,000 denarii more. However, it is kind of less right now. However, with that, I think I'm done with this turn, and I will see you all in the next turn when I'm ready to continue my push into the Odrysian kingdom. Alright, welcome to the next turn. We're going to crush the riot. We have some characters that have leveled up. Just one, a governor. And speaking of governors, we could recruit another governor, and we're going to recruit this guy over here. And we are going to give him some abilities to improve his management. We no longer require the food, so we're going to focus on other things. Definitely wonderful, and we are going to deploy him over there in the next turn. However, that being said and done, let's have a quick look at all of our provinces. We can go ahead and level up over here in Pannonia, and we can continue to do so over here in Thracia and Moesia. And everything seems to be going quite well. It seems like in another couple of turns Britannia will be Latin entirely, so that is always a good thing. Meanwhile, we can quickly have a look at the character that has leveled up. It is the dignitary all the way over here, which doesn't really make a difference anymore. So let's just go ahead and give him his abilities. Meanwhile, we can move Legio 5 Macedonica back into the port. We're going to take Legio 3 Kyrenike and put him into the port of Salamis, as that is rather important. That will give us a lot more movement range. Even though he's not on the mainland, he will get a lot of movement range, and we can even put Legio 2 Partica into the port of Antiochia. So everything seems to be going fine as far as that is concerned. We're going to move Legio 15 Apollinaris all the way into the port of Panticapaeum. And in the next turn, we're going to attack Geros. Or we could actually do that in this turn with this legion, which is what I'm going to do. I had to retreat Legio Phos Kithike because I was attacked by a multitude of Odrysian, hostiles. And I definitely want to, be able to take them on even footing. So pretty much just staying here, gonna go into that defensive formation hopefully. They should not be able to attack me or reach me hopefully, and what I am going to do is I'm going to trade with this new faction, ask it to join the war against the Odrysian kingdom. Meanwhile, over here we're going to attempt again to ask these guys to join the war against the Odrysian kingdom, and hopefully they will this time. It doesn't seem likely, so we're going to have to wait patiently in order to attack them. However, up here in the north near Aink, we still have an inability to replenish this legion. So what we're going to do, we're going to move him all the way down to Singidun, and we're going to pretty much just, exchange the legions so that we can replenish with this legion that's up here on top, and he might actually be able to move into Naissos, which means he will definitely be able to replenish. As you can see, Naissos has a decent amount of population. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and put Legio 1 Aeduatrix into the settlement of Aink. And we can't really recruit anything just yet, and in a couple of turns we should be able to recruit some cataphract type units. So let's actually move Legio 1 Italica in anticipation of that into Singidun. And I am going to give the cataphract units to Legio 1 Minerva, Legio 1 Italica, as well as Legio 3 Flavia Felix. So we have 3 variants of cataphract units, and I am going to pretty much assign to them the various different cataphracts that are available from the province of Pannonia. Meanwhile, we can keep pushing our offensive into Thracia at Moesia. We're going to auto-resolve this one over here, and once again we're going to peacefully occupy. We sink the fleet, and we capture the settlement. However, the danger is we do have a Germanic army over here that could attack Pulpodeva. So what we are going to do is we're going to move Legio 30 Ulpia Victrix into Pulpodeva. Meanwhile, we're going to remove the patrol stance, because he could potentially even reach this army, and I'm not entirely sure how to estimate his movement range. And one of the most important things about capturing Odessos is this slave trader building, and I will kind of explain that in a short bit. So when it comes to the economy, the major modifiers are your taxes, your slaves, and your empire maintenance, and pretty much your entire region wealth or your province wealth is a summation of the wealth generated by each region, which actually totals up to 46,000 denarii. As you can see over here, we have Pergamon at 10, Ephesus at 12,000, we have Rhodos at 14,000, and we have Pessinus at 8,000, which totals up to 46,000 approximately. However, that equates into a total income of 212,000 denarii, which is absolutely insane. And the reason we can get so much is because we have a really high taxation level and a really good slave modifier. Meanwhile, we have maximized, or rather minimized, our empire maintenance to 0. Therefore, we are getting no penalties to this modifier, and pretty much this modifier into the 46,000 denarii is what is giving me my 212,000 denarii per turn. And one of the things about the slave trader building is that when you have really high slaves as, you know, the backbone of your economy, which I highly recommend in Divide et Impera Rome 2 Total War, the slave settlement actually reduces your slave unrest, which is usually pretty high due to the number or the amount of slaves you have across your realm. However, that being said and done, I think I am kind of done with this turn, so I'm going to go ahead, end the turn, and I will see you all in the next turn when I'm ready to keep conquering my way into Thracia and Moesia and try to wipe out the Thracians as well. I think as far as this episode is concerned, our conflict with the Germans can be put on hold. Meanwhile, we will have to focus on taking out the Thracians in Olbia specifically, and then Petrodava as well. Of course, we have to conquer Anthea as well, but we should be able to do that. We have quite a lot of legions, and the idea is to actually use Legio 30 Ulpia Victrix led by Imperator Augustus against this major army, so that we can have a really nice battle. Alright, welcome to the next turn. Our daughter has come of age, some characters have leveled up, and of course we have got plus loyalty for our political parties due to our political intrigue choice. And we're gonna go ahead and keep wiping out this pirate faction, make sure it doesn't affect our economy, and we're gonna go ahead and slave all of them. Meanwhile, we have a new bunch of pirates, the Sicilian pirates, and they are raiding Paritonium. However, we're not gonna attack them just yet. We're gonna deploy classes 2 Italica Ferox into the port of Kyrene, replenish, and in the next turn we will attack them as well. That being said and done, let's have a quick look to see if we can get even a better dignitary. It's about the same dignitary, so I don't really care. Let's go ahead and deploy this dignitary, and as you can see, our economy is back up where it should be at about 340,000 denarii per turn. We are sitting at about 9 million denarii in the bank, so that is definitely good. Meanwhile, what we want to do is we want to use Legio 13 Gemina to go ahead and attack the settlement of Anthea, and we can quickly and easily auto-resolve this one, and we're gonna peacefully occupy the settlement to maintain that Peregrini population class, go ahead and level him up since we can do so. And if we can give him any abilities, let's just go ahead and do that. We're going to put him into the port so that he can replenish in this turn. And that's a nifty little trick for you guys if you're interested. And we're going to go ahead and dismantle all of the buildings we don't need and construct whatever we do need. That being said and done, let's have a very quick look at all of our provinces. Britannia is just about one turn away from becoming Latin culture, which is great. Meanwhile, all of our other provinces seem to be completely built up for the most part, with the exception, of course, of the recently conquered territories of Pannonia and Thracia and Moesia. So let's go ahead and do that. Meanwhile, all the way up in the north, our army has sort of kind of slightly replenished. We still have a bunch of armies over here, and we still have this Germanic army that could be a nuisance to us. So what we are going to do is we are going to try to dislodge it. So we're going to attack with Legio 30 Ulpia Victrix under, of course, our leader. And it seems like they want to fight, so we might as well just quick save over here. And I'm gonna go ahead and hop into the battle, and I will see you all in the battle. Alright, welcome to the battle. We have arranged Legio 30 Ulpia Victrix into the typical legionary formation. As you can see, we have our Tripolis axes with our legionary cohorts in the back, and this is actually the first battle we are fighting with Legio 30 Ulpia Victrix, and as you can see, they are very heavily armored legionary cohorts with even the Manica Segmentata, which is an Lorica Segmentata for the forearm, the sword wielding or the gladius wielding forearm. And these were used because typically they fought against you know, the Dacians, who used the Falx, which was an extremely you know, effective weapon against the Roman legionaries, especially due to its curved shape. It could completely bypass the Roman scutum, and as such, you know, Trajan kind of issued heavier gear for these Roman units. However, we are not fighting against the Dacians. The Dacians are no longer exist in this campaign. As most of you know, I tried my level best to keep them alive, but they were just too retarded, so I finally gave up on that effort. However, these units are absolutely beastly. They have an armor rating of 60, and if they go into defensive formation, that will bump up all the way to 75. Meanwhile, the enemy cavalry has decided to, you know, to do the same mistake and charge into my auxiliary spearmen. The auxiliary spearmen are not going to take any casualties whatsoever. Meanwhile, they are going to end up sacrificing all of their cavalry in a futile attempt to dislodge my front line. My own cavalry decides to join the fray and not sit idly, and pretty much with that cavalry charge we will completely demolish the enemy left flank of cavalry. Meanwhile, on the right flank, this cavalry unit manages to move past my front lines through the gaps. However, all is not looking well. It kind of gets absolutely destroyed by my cohorts Pila, and as such, you can see we are nicely aligned and adjusted to face the enemy attack. We have dealt with these cavalry units over here. Meanwhile, all that remains is a single javelin cavalry, and now these cavalries are a lot more annoying to deal with because they are a little bit fast, and you know, they can pretty much stay in the fight for very long. So as long as they're in the fight, it's going to be very difficult. Meanwhile, on the right flank, we're trying to chase in a bunch of other cavalry, and we managed to get a little bit close, but we have run into a bunch of spearmen who kind of lower their weapons, so we kind of, you know, duck out of there as quickly as possible. So we kind of want to, you know, be very careful of what we are doing over here, as this is actually, you know, the Germanic pike unit. So we got to be very careful. They're going to be extremely good against cavalry. Meanwhile, over here in the center, our legions have kind of engaged. I do not deploy that defensive formation because we are up against phalanx units, and we don't want to take extra casualties. Meanwhile, I'm focus firing on all of their pike and phalanx type units so that I can rout them out of the battlefield as quickly as possible. Upon noticing that I have dealt with that unit, I kind of focus on the next unit, as you can see over here. And these units are pretty good right now against missile fire. However, in the 1.33 patch, they will be taking a lot more casualties because they no longer have that shield. However, regardless, you should always try to focus your missile fire onto these units. Meanwhile, our General Imperator Augustus himself has decided to join the fight. We have noticed a bunch of openings on that right flank, so we have gone through the gap and we are attacking a purely skirmisher type unit so that he takes minimal casualties while inflicting maximum kills. And since he has dealt with that unit, we're going to charge into the next missile unit, and of course they're going to take a massive charge penalty. And as such, as you can see, they're already in full withdrawal, and they are going to send some spearmen to assist the situation. So very quickly I move the Imperial Equites Singulares Augusti away from the engagement. Meanwhile, I've noticed that the entire enemy concentration is in the central portion, and my troops in the center have started to take quite a bit of casualties, as you can see. So I have decided to kind of roll up my flanks and kind of completely surround the enemy over here. Meanwhile, over here we have another unit of pike units, and what we are trying to achieve over here is surround it from all sides and charge at it from all sides. So they are going to lower their pikes towards one side. Meanwhile, they're going to get charged in the rear from another side, and they are pretty much, their formation is breached. They're going to move forward, which is kind of going to allow my own spearmen or to get into range of these units. And we have charged them from all three sides, so they're pretty much in a bad situation over here, and they shouldn't be able to do much. Meanwhile, our right flank has completely turned into the enemy, and our Equites Singulares Augusti is busy attacking another missile unit, while the spear unit is trying to, assist or support it. However, it decides it's not going to catch up to that unit, so it's pretty much just going to let it pass. Our cavalry on the right flank performs yet another devastating charge, and with that charge we managed to completely rout out all the enemy missile units, leaving only their frontline units. As you can tell, we have a couple of units remaining over here, 3 units including their general unit. However, if we wipe out their units over here, their general will flee without putting up a fight. Over here we decided to charge the enemy from all sides. A pretty massive charge over there that's gotten them into wavering. Meanwhile, over here we have decided to kind of ignore this spike unit and move away from it, while pushing up with this unit to keep flanking it. And with that we have won the battle, and I will see you all in the campaign. And with that we have a very decisive victory. We lost only 104 men, and we are going to just enslave all the captives once again. And now this Germanic army should be no longer a threat, even if we completely ignore it over here. We took some casualties to our auxiliary troops, as well as, of course, to our patrician class Equites Singulares Augusti, but we have some patrician class, which is great, which means that Imperator Augustus will be able to kind of level up or replenish in the end turn regardless. However, that being said and done, we can actually just wipe out this Germanic army, so might as well just do it. 99% auto resolve, easy auto resolve. Go ahead and slave him and move this army back towards maybe Naissos or even Popodeva, for that matter of fact. However, that being said and done, we are very close to being able to kind of push our offensive towards Olbia. So let's actually kind of move our armies into that region, and we're going to move one army over there, and the second army we're going to move it over here. So hopefully these two armies will kind of dissuade them from attacking deeper into eastern Sarmatia. So let's go ahead and put him into that fortified formation, and I guess with that I'm pretty much done with the entire turn, except of course we have to level up some characters. So let's go ahead have a quick look at what characters we can level up, and we can even level up the commander of Legio 10 Germanica, and he's gotten a new skill because of the champion that we have offered him in the previous turn. We even have the commander of Legio 16 Gallica that can be leveled up, so let's go ahead and level him up as well. We can give him the campaign range movement. Perfect. With that, I am going to go ahead, end the turn, and I will see you all in the distant future when I am going to attack Olbia, most likely with Legio 30, Olbia Victrix, led by our faction leader, Imperator Augustus. Alright, welcome to the future, and some of our characters have leveled up. We are still in the process of moving classes 1 Roma Victrix into the port of Syracuse. Meanwhile, classes 2 Italica Ferox has completely replenished, so we can deal with the Sicilian pirates outside the port of Peritonium. They are going to retreat all the way towards Alexandria, and we are just going to keep pursuing them, and should be an easy auto-resolve. And we are going to enslave all of the captives, and we're going to deploy classes 2 Italica Ferox into the port of Alexandria. So now we have a fleet that's in the Eastern Mediterranean, basically classes 2 Italica Ferox, and we have a fleet that's in the Western Mediterranean, classes 1 Roma Victrix. So that being said and done, let us quickly have a look at all of our characters that we can level up. We can go ahead and level up this guy, give him that ability and perhaps some gravitas. Meanwhile, the commander of Legio 6 Ferrata has also leveled up, so that is great. We can go ahead, give him a couple of those abilities, as well as maybe give him some household traits. The commander of Legio 1 Adriatrix has also leveled up, so let's go ahead and give him some abilities. I can focus on that army range. And apart from that, we also have the commander of Legio 9 Hispana. And now I know some of you keep asking me why do I name 9 in this fashion, and that is because this is historical. The 1 and X is pretty much the modern style of numerals. However, the ancient style was basically 4 1s rather. That being said and done, you can see taking some attrition over here, I guess. Let's actually move towards Petrodava with this army. It should be a decent auto-resolve, however, maybe I can further complement it with yet another army in the area. And over here, what I want to do is I want to fight this final battle of the episode. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attack with this army, and then I am going to attack the army that's outside with Imperator Augustus. But however, before I go ahead and do that, we are going to auto-resolve it over here, and we are going to liberate yet another faction over here, so that we can kind of replenish in this area before we march back down south towards, of course, our Roman territory and kind of restructure our army. Meanwhile, in Pannonia, as you can see, we are busy recruiting those cataphractii units, and once we've done that, we should be able to, have a pretty decent army up here in the north. In about 4 turns, we will have all of our cataphractii units, so that is great. Meanwhile, quick look at all of our provinces, what we can get, what we can upgrade, and pretty much seems that most of our upgrades have been done, taken care of. Meanwhile, Caledonia at Hibernia is finally Latin culture at 51%, and all of the other provinces seem to be fine for now, so I'm pretty happy with that. Meanwhile, we can even move Legio 4 Flavia Felix into the port of Odessos. However, with that being said and done, we really need to push our offensive. We are taking some attrition due to a lack of supplies, so we're going to push our offensive and try to attack that army. He's going to retreat pretty far, so unfortunately we will not be able to most likely... Oh, there we go. Okay, we can attack him. So let's just go ahead, quick save over here, and I'm gonna hop into the battle, and I will see you all in the battle. Welcome to the Battle of Olbia. We are in charge of Legio 30 Ulpia Victrix under the command of Imperator Gaius Augustus, and of course, he's going to be on that right flank behind his Batavian cavalry, and of course he is in command of the Equites Singulares Augusti, very nice looking Germanic heavy cavalry unit, a unique unit I made for this Let's Play series that I pretty much just assigned to the Emperor, as historically they were the Emperor's bodyguards. Meanwhile, in the fortification on the opposite side we have just a single Odrysian general unit, and pretty much no point in wasting our ammunition on a single unit. However, we managed to get a few shots off and killing a few of their units before I issue commands to stop firing. Meanwhile, I'm going to move my entire front line in order to, reposition for the enemy reinforcements, which I believe will come from that direction, and I was kind of right, they do come from that direction, and I see an opportunity to kind of chase their general and try to kill their general before he can link up with the reinforcements. And for some reason he's able to move past these walls, which is rather funny. However, noticing that I can, as you can see on that right flank, I kind of issue my Batavian Batavian auxiliary cavalry to kind of pursue the fleeing general and make sure that he does not get or link up with the enemy reinforcements. So of course this is our first battle against the Thracians, and the lighting over here is a little bit better, so we can get a much better look at the cohorts of Legio 30 Ulpia Victrix. As you can see, a really nice looking unit with the ballistas in the back moving across, and of course we are still trying to form up our front line. Meanwhile, our cavalry is slowly but surely approaching the enemy general. Let's go ahead and okay, I guess we cannot select the unit, or maybe I need to deselect this, and there we go, perfect. There we go, they're charging, they're throwing their javelins. As you can see, they are really pursuing, really trying their level best to pursue the enemy general. Over here we have a bunch of and we managed to catch up to them. The enemy reinforcements, as you can see, is coming in the distance, but we managed to catch up with the general, and as such we are going to be able to completely destroy him. Meanwhile, their front line has formed up really well, and what's happening over here all the way in the back is that I've decided to use the left flank of my front line to kind of neutralize the enemy towers and kind of get them to fight in our favor. Although we are not going to really be using them, I really want to neutralize and capture them, because our new front line is going to be somewhere over here, and I don't want enemy missiles to be hitting me in the back, which would be pretty painful. So I have decided to neutralize them, and while I'm at it, I might as well capture them. Meanwhile, over here the general is going to die. He's not going to be able to escape, and of course he's going to get cut down to size, and we have done quite well, and only a very few number of cavalry units managed to escape. And noticing that the enemy reinforcements are upon us, decide to pull back my cavalry. They have done quite well. They have hardly taken any casualties, and they managed to take out an entire general unit, which is absolutely amazing. And oh my god, Rome 2 glitches. Pretty much floating Thracian ghosts. And alright, and so you kind of notice a lot more glitches when you pretty much watch replays, because you can focus on what's going on, and that kind of ruins the experience a little bit. However, it's not a Divided Impera fault, it's pretty much just a Rome 2 kind of a fault. And we're going to fast forward over here, try to get our entire army into its new formation, with the exception of course of our spearmen, who are busy capturing the enemy fortification. So while they capture the enemy fortification, our front lines are going to form up, and of course our missile units end up overtaking our entire army, which is usually a little bit of a danger, and you want to pay attention to that because they can be potentially charged by the enemy cavalry or even by the enemy front lines, and then your missile units will be at a serious disadvantage. But I don't really care about micromanaging that well in this battle because I know I have an overwhelming advantage, so I'm pretty much happy with kind of slowly getting into position. Meanwhile, on the right flank, you can see their cavalry is making a move towards my own cavalry. Meanwhile, on the left flank, I noticed that these missile skirmishers on the left flank have no spearmen because the spearmen are busy just coming out of the fortification. So I move our cavalry to intercept and protect my skirmisher units, who then throw their javelins into their cavalry units. So it was quite a good micromanagement from my part to kind of protect my skirmisher units that didn't have a screen in front of them. However, our screen is slowly getting into position, slowly getting ahead. Meanwhile, our own legionaries are busy, waiting for that front lines to clash. Once the front line clashes, we don't manage to get our Pila thrown up, so that is the reason as to why I haven't yet gotten into defensive formation. So now I issue a defensive formation order, and if you issue the order a little bit late, then they kind of do this weird thing where several of the units on the front line orient in a very chaotic fashion. They kind of turn awkwardly. So my main focus is to reorient them into a proper direction facing the enemy units. Meanwhile, on the right flank, we have gone ahead and dispatched the enemy cavalry. All that remains is a missile cavalry unit, and this missile cavalry unit does quite well. As well as on the left flank, you can see we have another missile cavalry unit that does quite well against our own cavalry. While we do have some missiles to kind of engage this cavalry, it's a very light missile cavalry, making it quite difficult for our Batavian cavalry to catch up to it. So they're going to take quite a bit of casualties, but I don't really care. They're auxiliary troops, so we can afford to take casualties. Meanwhile, my own spearmen have decided to pin down this enemy unit. They are quite good actually, and they also look pretty good, and these units were designed by Cam from the Divided Impera team. They're looking really good with that kind of Falks, I'm guessing, a 100 Falks, or maybe it's a Rhine, not entirely sure, but they do have a lot of melee armor penetration. However, we do have a lot of armor, so it shouldn't be much of an issue dealing with them. And as you can see, already they're wavering. Meanwhile, in the front line, you can see we're kind of being swarmed. Although we are holding very well against the enemy onslaught, the idea over here is to kind of get our legionaries involved in the fighting. Since the entire front line is pinned down, we want to exploit the gaps at this point. We want to move our legionaries to kind of exploit all the enemy gaps, and I'm not entirely sure if we do that just of yet. Our cavalry, meanwhile, in the back is busy trying to wipe out their missile units. And as you can see, since they're not able to kind of wipe them out, ideally I should have pulled them out right now, but I kind of ignore that. Meanwhile, over here, Augustus himself is going to charge into the backs of this melee unit, and as such they're going to take a lot of casualties, lose quite decisively. We have a lot of cavalry over here just attacking and hacking away at the sword unit, and as such they are already routing. They've decided to lay down their weapons and run for it. Meanwhile, our cavalry over here has dispatched that missile cavalry. As you can see, they are still quite respectable. However, they have taken quite a bit of casualties. We have lost almost half a unit over here. And as such, we are just simply going to chase down this unit. Meanwhile, our legionaries, as you can see, they are slowly starting to move around. Imperator Augustus with his Equites Singulares Augusti starting to charge into the enemy flanks, looking really good with those charges, managing to get some significant amount of kills. but he is not going to be able to rout out that enemy, so we are going to pull him back once again. Meanwhile, our cavalry over here has dealt very nicely with all of the missile units, so on the left flank we're moving our cohorts of the Ulpia Victress around the Thracians, and we are going to charge into their backs. However, they decide to disengage and charge into my own legion, so we are going to pretty much engage them over there. Meanwhile, over here we're going to try to charge against this unit. These units are trying to disengage and get out of the conflict so that they don't get flanked, which is kind of good. Kudos to the AI for doing that, because then they are kind of denying me a clean flanking maneuver. But deciding that they have done that, I have decided to charge in with my Equites Singulares Augusti. And these guys are going to be able to push quite deeply into that formation, and as such they're going to have to turn around and take a lot of casualties as a result of it, and they are going to flee. They're going to get absolutely hacked down over here by our cavalry and by our own infantry. Meanwhile, we're going to pull out our Singulares again, and we're going to try to flank once again. And pretty much over here all of our legions have dealt with the enemy units. All that remains is their central unit that is pushing up against the spear unit that's holding quite well, considering it's holding 4 units, and this is a mistake you guys don't want to do. You don't want to waste 4 units fighting off against a single unit, especially in defensive formation. It's still fresh. Meanwhile, you have 4 exhausted and very tired units over here, so they're not going to be able to deal a lot of casualties. Meanwhile, I can hold this area for a very long time to come. Our legions meanwhile have managed to completely encircle the enemy, and as such they're realizing their situation. They're being completely surrounded, and with that they kind of break, and I've issued my Equites Singulares Augusti as well as all of our cavalry to charge and mop up the enemy as much and as best as I can. And pretty much that's what's going to happen. We're going to try to rout as many enemy units as we possibly can, and of course I'm not going to be showcasing that. That's really easy, and most of you guys already know how to do that. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead, end the battle, and I will see you all back in the campaign. Alright, with that we have won that battle, once again pulling in clutch. We might have even wiped out both of the armies. Well, we nearly wiped out both of the armies, and we're gonna enslave all the captives. And then I want to move, let's say I can move Augustus a little bit into another region, so hopefully he should be able to replenish. Perfect. And meanwhile we can attack with Legio Scythica. This garrison should not be able to defend against us now. Pretty easy conquest of Olbia, and we are going to go ahead and liberate the faction once again. And we're still taking some casualties, so we're going to retreat this army back towards Thracia and Moesia, and should be getting some replenishment now. And we are also going to get rid of some of our Gallic spearmen in favor of course, some Thracian spearmen. So let's actually get Thracian spearmen. Perfect. And we have also wiped out the Odrysian faction completely. What we are going to do over here is we are going to take a trade agreement with these guys, make sure that they are super friendly with us. And as such, you can see we have completely wiped out the Odrysian kingdom. We have managed to conquer Pannonia, Thracia, Moesia, and pretty much we have secured the historical Roman Rhine-Danubian front. As you can see, it's a pretty massive front, and as I have explained in the previous episode, we will be trying to establish an ahistorical what-if scenario if the Roman Empire managed to shorten its frontier to basically the Elbe River, Carpathian Mountain frontier, and that is what they were trying to do. However, they were unsuccessful. During the Battle of Teutoburg, they kind of lost 3 legions. All of those 3 legions are stationed over here, and in the next episode they will begin the invasion of Germania in an attempt to re-establish or to establish the Elbe River Carpathian Mountain frontier. and at the same time we will be beginning our invasion into Dacia in order to create that Carpathian mountain connection to the Elbe River, thereby securing our realm and pretty much playing an alternative history in which Rome has more defensible borders and therefore is more everlasting as an empire. And of course, after that we will be focusing on the Parthians. We will be taking Mesopotamia for ourselves, and we will be trying to reduce their influence in Scythia, as well as trying to kind of hamper them as much as possible within their home territories of Parthia, as well as Media, as well as Persia. And we have the perfect position to do that because we are allied with the Mauryaans as well as Muscat, who will join the war against us hopefully and help take out the Parthians. So pretty much with that, I think I am done with this episode, and so I thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you like the video, then like the video, and don't forget to subscribe for more. Peace and love.